So welcome everyone. Today we're going to talk about travel and retirement. And I think I know most of you in the room, but if I don't, my name is Karena Stipp. I am a senior specialist realtor and I host this seminar series. This is our second year. Today is our anniversary, 24 seminars, one each month. And so I'm thank you for all of you who come on a regular basis and support the seminar series. I think it's important to educate on a lot of subjects. Today's kind of a fun one. And so we're going to have two speakers today. Laura K. House. So Laura K. has like oodles of of accolades. She holds a bachelor degree of social work and a master's degree in gerontology. You were with Delta Airlines for 18 years. And she also has Silver Connections, which is a group here in the Triangle. And that's kind of she's going to talk about that. Yep, and also focuses on travel for seniors. And then our other speaker today is James. Am I saying it right? I should have asked you. Cartmell? Okay, easy enough, just like it looks, right? And so James also oodles of experience. He has Collette Travel and 14 years of experience in the travel industry and a lot of accolades. You can see here. I mean, you know. Favorite travel experiences include Machu Picchu, New Zealand, Croatia, and Greece. So maybe you'll tell us. So what we're going to do is we're going to switch over to a presentation that James has loaded on his computer. So give us just 1 second. I'm going to hand this over to James. And James, if you'll hold the microphone fairly close.
Thanks. I'm actually going to have Laura tell you a little bit more about her organization first, since she's local. And
hello, everybody. Am I talking loud enough? I have a pretty loud voice. Thank you for attending today. We both really appreciate it. My name is Laura K. House, and I have lived in the Triangle for 20 years. And I have founded two businesses that are dedicated to those 55 and over. The first one is Silver Connections, that I started in 2007, so 18 years. It's a membership organization, and I do event planning in the area for my members. They're all single, but it is not a dating group. It is about friendship and having a full social calendar. So I plan dining, museum visits, we volunteer, we go to the theater. I keep them pretty busy. And my other company I started, which we're going to talk about today, is called Your Travel Memories. And Your Travel Memories I started in 2016, and it is for 55 and over, singles, couples, friends, anyone that's 55 and over. As long as one person is 55 and over, you can bring like your sister who's 40 or your son who's 25, whatever, grandchild, as long as they're over 21. And I started that because I was a flight attendant for Delta in my younger years. And then I went back and got my master's degree in gerontology, because that's kind of where my love always was. And I thought, why not open up two businesses dedicated to that age group, one with events and one with travel. And so we have traveled. I had to write it all down because I can't remember all the places we've been to since I started. We've been to France, Italy, Ireland, Scotland, Imperial Cities, Spain, Croatia, Germany, a Christmas markets trip to Austria, Portugal, Iceland, Greece, and Costa Rica. And that's since 2016. So we are a group travel agency, but I partner with larger group travel agencies to work together, because that way we're kind of a partnership, and I'm the liaison between you and the major company like Collette. And I don't know, the fact that you all are here today is such a positive, because I don't know if you realize the advantages of socializing and social connections in later life. It has now been proven that if you are not connected and you're not busy socializing, you have a higher risk of dementia, you have a higher risk of heart attack, stroke, depression, anxiety, and they have now proven that it is bad for you as if you are a smoker, which is huge. So I really try to connect my travelers together. I don't make the group very big. We only go up to about 20 people maximum in my group. We always have a travel presentation months before the trip where you can come. It's an in-person presentation, learn all about the trip, with my other travel partner, find out costs, details, itinerary, cultural events, everything. And then about 3 weeks to a month before the trip departs, we have a bon voyage gathering. And that's for everybody that's going on the trip to come, meet one another, last minute questions, go over the whole trip. So I try to make it really personal, and I'm always there for you. If you have any questions, I follow up, I send reminders. I'm kind of, like I said, the liaison between you and the major travel company. So I do work with 3 different travel companies, but Collette is my favorite. And I'm not just saying that because James is here. I've been working with them for 15 years, and they have been in business for over 100 years, and they're a family-owned business. So I'm going to let James now take over from me, and afterwards, if you have any questions for me about your travel memories or anything, we'll have a Q&A. Okay. There you go.
Thanks, Laura. Appreciate it. And thank you. Karena, I don't think we appropriately congratulated you for 24 months of doing this. So congratulations. That's a wonderful accomplishment. We're honored to be here today, and I appreciate everyone for coming out to learn about travel and retirement. I'm a big advocate for that. Surprise, surprise. I've loved working for Collette. As Laura says, it's a family-owned company. They treat our employees really well. We're a company full of travelers who get to design trips for other people. So it's a really great way to kind of spend my professional career. And of course, we have this philosophy, you know, because you go. So I've had the opportunity to travel all over the world. They even moved me to Australia for 2.5 years, which is great. One of my daughters was born there. So if you're ever interested in learning about the Australian healthcare system, I can tell you about it. And yeah, you know, I think, well, the purpose of this presentation is we want to introduce you to Collette and obviously the trips that we're doing with your travel memories. You know, I really believe that travel is a really important part of a fulfilling life, especially when you get to do it with other people. You get to learn about other cultures and see new places. You know, that's, I think, a really important part of staying active and having things to look forward to. When you do our trips, you know, it's a really great way to do that because we're talking about traveling with, as she said, like 20, 24 people. And it's a lot easier to get to know people and make friends when you're traveling with that size as opposed to, you know, maybe, for example, doing a cruise with 3,000 other people. Sure. Is this, I just have to hold it pretty close? Okay. Yeah, okay. Thanks for letting me know. So, you know, these are all about, you know, having fun, learning. These tours, all these guided tours that we do are for culturally curious people. You know, we're going to take you to places all over the globe. We arrange everything so you can just sit back, relax, have fun, and learn. And Laura's been doing this for a while, so she has a great nose for picking really nice trips to offer the community and have people share. I've done a couple of presentations for her. People in the room are really fun. We usually do it at Total Wine, which kind of tells you everything you need to know. Yeah, so it's a lot of fun, and it's just about, you know, having these bucket list travel experiences and sharing it and making new friends. You know, so that's exactly what it's great. So it's a you know, it's a great topic. And so Collette, who I work for, partners with Laura, and we have about 170 different guided trips all over the world. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to tell you about who Collette is, so you understand what the experience is like. And then we're going to go through a couple of the trips that Laura has set up for next year that she's going to be actively working to get people to try to join the group on over the next 12 months. One is to Tuscany. It's all in front of you. But one's to Tuscany, and that's going in March of next year. My dad and stepmom actually just went to Tuscany in May. They liked it, but they said it was too crowded for their liking. So I think March will be a really nice time to go. We're also going to be having a trip to, I'm blanking, Portugal in May, which will get, you know, of course, Lisbon, but really focusing on southern Portugal, which is very nice, beautiful beaches, great history, wine. People love that trip. And then finally, we have a trip to discover Switzerland, Austria, and Bavaria in September of next year, which is a perfect time to travel to the Alpine region. So we'll go through each of these, but like I said, first I want to tell you about what the experience is like with Collette. We're actually the oldest and largest American-based tour company, very financially stable. We've been in business since 1918, and the first trip we ever did was a 21-day motor coach trip. It went from Boston all the way down to Florida. It was 7 days to drive down, 7 days there, and then 7 days to drive back. Do you want to guess what the cost of that trip was? It was 1918. Very inclusive. It was $61.50. So now things have changed a little bit. We now fly everywhere. You know, these trips are places you fly to, but when you get there, you have a full-time tour manager that's with you every step of the way, local guides, great hotels, authentic culinary experiences where you actually learn how to make the local recipes and get your hands dirty a little bit. Great cultural experiences, not just the must-sees, but really kind of getting to meet the local people is what we want to do. And just different ways to get around and enjoy it. We want to balance a lot of the must-sees and cultural experiences with free time too. We don't believe you can get to know a place when you're constantly being rushed. So a typical tour for us might be, arrive in a city, we'll have maybe 3 or 4 days there. We'll take day trips from that specific place, have free time, have some great local meals for you, but give you plenty of time to do your own thing, make friends, go shopping, whatever you want to do with the group. So why do travelers love us? Well, that pacing is really important. We might have 1 or 2 one-night stays, but in general, it's you get to arrive at a destination, have plenty of nights there to appreciate it and learn about it before we move along. Very inclusive. There's not a lot of extra costs associated with this. There may be 1 or 2 optional excursions that people can do on a specific itinerary, but in general, we build it in up front. We do a lot of great culinary experiences. I always tell people when you book a Collette tour, start your diet now because you'll be eating a lot on your trip. And I can't say enough good things about the role that the tour manager has. This is all about, again, teaching you about these places, having fun, but making it as easy and as stress-free as possible. And they are that job. They are with you from start to finish, making sure you're on time, making sure you're learning about these places, making sure you're having fun. They're the best in the business. They love leading our trips. And then we'll also use local guides too. So tour manager might be from that area, but then we'll have somebody from some of the specific cities or museums or things that we'll visit that will give you that insider perspective. So, and then a couple other things we do to make it easy. When you're doing a trip with Laura, we will pick everybody up at a central point, drive you to the airport, so you don't need to worry about parking overnight for 10 days potentially at RDU. Yeah, and then. So we have a pickup point. We drive you to the airport. When you arrive in the destination, all the transfers are included, and then the same thing on the way home. So it's there are opportunities to personalize the trip, and you can talk with Laura about what might be best for you. But this is getting really popular, pre-nights. If you're traveling out of the country, or sometimes even within the country, it's always nice to kind of get there a day early to get acclimated a little bit. If there's any jet lag, you can get over that. Have a little bit of time to be prepared for the trip. We're talking about vacations. This is not like, sometimes people say, I need a rest from my trip, because they're adventures. You get back and you're seeing a lot, you're doing a lot. It's not just sitting on a beach for 7 days. This is getting to see things and learn about them. So a pre-night, a post-night is sometimes a great idea. A couple of our tours, like I mentioned, will have optional excursions. These are things that are not for everybody, but we want to give people the option. This picture is a woman going ziplining in Costa Rica. We're not going to force everyone to do that. If you want to, you can line it up, and we can help you. And then this is a hugely important thing in general in the travel industry, but especially with Collette, is having proper travel insurance. The price for this since the pandemic has really increased across the board. Travel insurance has really spiked. A lot of different policies out there. You have to ask about, is it age-related? Are there pre-existing conditions? What does it truly cover you for when you're in a destination before you leave? When you sign up for these trips, you'll have the opportunity to sign up for a Collette travel protection plan that is one flat rate per person per trip, and it will allow you to cancel for any reason up until the day before the tour leaves and get all your money back, no questions asked. So it's a really great policy, great peace of mind. Our business philosophy has always been, we haven't done anything to earn your money, so if you can't go, we're not going to keep it. And it's literally any reason. So if you have a bad haircut a week before the trip, you don't want to deal with 10 days of bad pictures, that's okay. You cancel off. We'll send you a complete refund, and then you can go on the next one when your hair's regrown. Just a funny example. Yeah, it's good. It's good. It's happened to you? Yeah. Oh, there you go. Thanks, Judy. Oh, 10 times. Geez, Judy. That's great. Oh, good. Good. Yeah. Yeah, so just to put that in perspective for everybody, during the pandemic, we refunded over $200 million in cash for people that couldn't travel, didn't want to travel, because it was just the right thing to do. And then, we're finding since then that people have come back to us. So it's really great. And then that same policy will cover you in the destination. So this is important. Sometimes people don't travel with insurance, and when you leave the country, typically your American travel insurance won't protect you for medical reasons outside of our borders. So, if you're flying within the U.S. and it's a quick weekend trip, that's fine. I don't think you necessarily need insurance. But if you're going to be spending a lot of money, making an investment, planning a trip like this for 10 plus days to Europe, I don't think you can afford not to do it. So it's always better to have it and not need it than need it and not have it. We have repeat traveler club here, where if you do trips with Laura and then you continue to travel with us, you get automatic discounts on future trips to make it a little bit easier. And then just something too that is happening more in the travel landscapes I wanted to mention to you is specifically around visas. You do need a passport to leave the country, so make sure that's up to date. It typically needs to be valid for 8 months after you're scheduled to get back into the U.S. But more and more countries now are creating these online little visa type things that you need to get in order to travel to their country. They're being more protective and more aware of who's crossing their borders. So the UK has just recently started one this year called the ETA. A lot of countries in the EU have one that's going to start soon called ETIAS, ETIAS. And it's not, technically they're not a visa, but they're something you need to get in order to travel through their borders. So it's typically done online. You go to their ETA or ETIAS website, put in your name, your passport number, a couple bits of information. Of course, they're going to make a little bit of money on it. So normally it's like £10 or about €10 to get this, and then it'll last for several years. So it's fairly easy to do. A lot of people can do it a couple days before their trip, but just good to be aware that this is kind of something that more and more countries are having in place. And if you are operating on a trip that would require something like this, not only will Collette be communicating that and what you need to do, but we'll work with Laura. Usually, do you do like a pre-departure meeting sometime? Yeah. Yeah. So when you're looking at a specific trip, or if you sign up for a trip, usually about a month before the group goes, we'll have like a little pre-departure bon voyage meeting, meet some of the people, talk about some of the specifics to prepare for leaving. Okay, so the first trip I'm going to go through today is our Spotlight on Tuscany. This is one of our most famous trips, or most popular trips to Italy. And Italy, just as a company, is one of our most popular destinations. Everyone wants to go to Italy. If you've been there before, sometimes you want to go back to Italy. It has really something for everybody. I think the food kind of brings people in, but so many people love the history, the culture, the friendly people. They're so welcoming. And just always a good time. So this tour is nice, especially because we'll spend 7 nights just in a little hill town in Tuscany. We do not change hotels. You get to unpack once, have a little bit of a home base. We'll have free time to enjoy that town. Montecatini, I'll show you some pictures. I guess it's like a spa resort town in the mountains in Tuscany. And each day we'll take a little bit of a trip to go to a different city. And it might look like we'll leave in the morning after breakfast. We'll spend several hours in that town, do a little bit of a guided tour to learn about its history, see the sights. We'll have lunch there. You'll have some free time in the afternoon to go back to some places on your own. And then in the afternoon or evening, we'll have some type of culinary experience lined up for people. So in that way, that's kind of like your general flow for what these days might look like. This is a spotlight tour. And all these trips that I'm going to be talking about today have a maximum of around 44 people that'll be on this specific departure with you, usually an average of around 37, depending on the departure. And it's a 3 out of 4 activity level. Every single trip that we do, we list an activity level on it from 1 to 4. 1 being very leisurely, not a lot of walking, to 4 being like you're going to be on your feet sometimes for a long time. And you need to be prepared for that in order to enjoy the destination. Now, Tuscany's great, but Tuscany is old. And a lot of the cities there don't have the ADA compliance that we have here in the US. You need to walk a lot. You need to climb stairs. There's cobblestones. So in order to enjoy the destination, you just need to be prepared physically to kind of last that long, have good footwear, and be able to get around and walk around appropriately. There's also some hills in Tuscany, so being able to walk up and down those is important. But when you get there, these are these fantastic views. Again, when we start these trips, we'll start in Raleigh, fly you over to the destination. It's an overnight flight. That arrival day, you'll meet your other travelers, meet the tour manager, talk about what the next several days will be, and just get really excited. There's traditionally a welcome dinner for everybody on that first night where you'll sample some of the local cuisine, again, start making friends, and talk about the agenda for the next several days. So as we kind of go through, we're going to be stopping at some really beautiful towns. And one of the first ones we get to go and see is Lucca. A lot of these will have beautiful cobblestone streets, narrow little alleys. Many of these cities will have beautiful piazzas and open squares that you can sit down and enjoy a bite to eat, or a gelato, or grab a glass of wine or an Aperol Spritz and see the people walking by. Our local guides, when we get there, will tell you about some of the history and maybe some of the families dating back to the pre-Renaissance times. They'll paint a picture of what life is like in these towns that we can really enjoy. And then you'll have plenty of opportunity to go shopping and see some of these things on your own. After our time in Lucca, we'll also visit a family-owned farm. This is something, again, every day we want to have culinary aspects that you can enjoy. This winery, great wine. Tuscan wine's famous. Some of just the house bottles of wine there are great to sip on and enjoy. So if you're a wine lover, you'll be in heaven. So we get to meet some of the people that actually have this vineyard in their family for generations sometimes, learn about what they've gone through to grow their estate or their brand, and just do some tastings. They tell us about the grapes and all that. It's a really fun visit. We'll also can't go to Tuscany and not go to Florence. Really the cradle of the Italian Renaissance. Has so much history, art. We'll do a great tour to show you all the beautiful architecture, like the Duomo here, the old bridges with shopping on it, the beautiful galleries. We get to see the Academy Galleria and the Statue of David. So much history and things to enjoy there. So it's a really fun day that we'll have walking around and exploring beautiful Florence. On some of these days, too, you'll have what we call Choice on Tour. This is an example of how we can personalize experiences for everybody. One of these days, we'll give people time to enjoy Montecatini, which is the town we'll be staying in for 7 nights. You can just go shopping, relax, sleep in, take a nap, read a book somewhere, or do some of the museums that are in the town. Or we can take you on a Gothic line tour, which is a really great tour for anyone that's a World War II, historian. Those were some of the sites and battles during Italy in World War II that we get to see and take you to. So they don't have to spend more money. It's just a choice, and you can decide how you want to spend your time, depending on your interest or your activity level or how you feel. This is a picture of Montecatini I just wanted to show you. It's a beautiful spa resort town, like I said. So they have beautiful baths set up all over. That's how they kind of got their start as a town. We'll also visit Pisa, so you can take a picture of yourself holding up the Leaning Tower in the background, something that all the tourists do and walk around. The birthday or the wedding cake. I think it shifted. Yeah, I think it shifted just from the. No, they did. I don't think they built it that way on purpose. No. Yeah. 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 But now it's famous for it. I think they're. Do you think they're happy it's leaning? I think they probably are. Yeah. I know. And then after Pisa, we'll again visit some of the local farms in Tuscany. There's cheeses. There's all kinds of great delicacies that come from this part of Tuscany. So we'll meet some of these local farmers, do some tastings, and at this one, if you are a lover of carbs, you will love Italian food. This is pasta, so we'll do a pasta making demonstration for everybody, and you get to make the pasta yourself. It's a lot of fun with the local experts. Another great city that we'll visit is Siena. Very historical. It's got a lot of great streets. This is the main square, the main town piazza in Siena, where twice a year they do the famous Palio horse race. Well, you'll get families will sponsor a horse, and they'll race around the inside of this square. It's very intense. People can get very seriously injured, but they take it so seriously. A lot of bragging rights. It's usually in July, so I don't know how they don't die from the heat, but they love it. And people will sit in the squares and watch this horse race go by. It's like they're a Kentucky Derby, but it's been going on for hundreds of years, so very fun. And then we'll visit some of the locals at a cheese farm after visiting Siena. Here's San Gimignano, another really fantastic town we'll visit one day. Famous for all its beautiful towers. It's kind of grown to prominence in Italy as a resting place for a lot of pilgrims who would go down to Rome from other parts of Europe. And as more and more pilgrims stopped there, it grew over the years. So you get to learn all about that as we kind of go around with the guides and see the winding, beautiful streets. Maybe sip on a cocktail or grab some gelato. That will be everywhere on these beautiful Tuscan villages as we're going through. And then finally, we'll have some more local food, and we'll fly home on the last day of the trip. Get you transported over to the airport in Florence and fly you home. So a really great tour. Again, all about immersing you in Tuscany. It's a spotlight on Tuscany to have you meet the people, learn about the history, and of course the food. If you've never been to Rome before, you can do a pre-tour extension to visit Rome. This is something we'll offer for people if they choose to do it. You can fly out early, get 3 nights there, have a completely guided experience all around the Eternal City to see the Spanish Steps and Trevi Fountain, go into St. Mark's Square. Yeah, all these great spots all around the Vatican and the Colosseum. There's so much history there. So if you've never done that before, if you want to go to Italy and don't want to leave that out, we can get you set up for that pre-tour extension before this tour. Any questions about that trip? Okay. And again, that's going to be in March of next year. In May, we have this really nice tour to Portugal. Portugal is a very up-and-coming travel destination for Americans. There's a lot of history and wonderful things to do. It's very affordable compared to the rest of Europe. So it's kind of like your in many ways traditional European experience, but very reasonably priced. And that's why people love this. It's beautiful weather and sunny Algarve coast. This picture just kind of gives you a highlight of what some of that coastline is like on the Mediterranean Sea. It's a really fun 10 days traveling around, doing some great experiences in May. We're going to be flying in and out of Lisbon on this trip. And the highlight will, again, be these 3 nights down in Lagos along the southern coastline, the Portuguese Riviera. Lagos is where like Prince Henry the Navigator, a lot of the very famous Portuguese explorers were from, so you get to learn about that. And just all kinds of Portuguese life and culture throughout this trip. It's a 2, so it's a little bit less active than the first one we talked about, just because I think it's a little bit easier to get around in some of the old towns, but still need to be able to be prepared to walk and stand on your feet and walk stairs. We'll have a welcome dinner for everyone in Lisbon when we start, and then we'll give people another choice. As the first full day, we want to teach you about the history of Lisbon and get acclimated. And this is one of the funniest choices I've seen. You can do a Lisbon walking tour, or you can do a tour in Lisbon that tells you about the city, but through the lens of the codfish and the fishing background in the city, from people who catch the fish, bring it to the markets, and eventually the restaurant. So it's like a foodie perspective of the walking tour of Lisbon. But it just sounds funny. Maybe I should use the bacalhau, I guess, sounds more interesting. Here's some of the beautiful sites in Lisbon, though. It's very historical, lots of UNESCO World Heritage sites. This is the Tower of Belém, which a lot of the royal family in Portugal would launch their voyages from. Across the street is Geronimo's Monastery, which is a beautiful monastery where so many people would pray for safe passage as their family members would depart on these sometimes year-long voyages they would never come back from. So really beautiful sites there. We'll do a whole great tour of all over Lisbon, so you get to see it and learn about its history. This first night, music is a really great part of Portuguese culture. And so one option, if you choose to do this evening, we'll have dinner and have a great fado concert that you can sign up to do. It goes a little bit late, so we don't want to necessarily include it for everybody, but it's a lot of fun. If you want to choose to do that, you can to start the trip. We'll say goodbye to Lisbon, and we start heading south. We go through Évora, which is a very historical city in Portugal. It's nicknamed the City of Museums. There's so many still standing Roman ruins there, like an aqueduct and lots of great buildings. It's a walled city. Here's the Roman temple that we get to take you to in Évora and walk around and see how the Romans built these amazing structures. Then we'll start heading down to the coast. To break up the trip, we actually visit a gin distillery and do some sampling of some of the local Portuguese gin, which is really growing in popularity. We'll also visit a beautiful winery as we get down further south and learn about their grapes and what makes Portuguese wine interesting and very tasty. And then this will be our home for the next 3 nights. This is Lagos, which is stunning. The beautiful blue water, gorgeous coastline, very rocky, but you'll find these remote little pristine beaches that are just paradise. This is an example of what Lagos would look like in a typical square. This is very unique to Portugal, but a lot of the streets, plazas are these beautiful mosaic tiles, and they're all black and white. So they'll have these black and white patterns in the mosaic tile to form these really beautiful decorated squares and streets. And I find it beautiful. I love taking pictures of it, especially when you're there in late spring and you see the beautiful trees in bloom, flowers in bloom. It really creates a beautiful experience. Yeah. Yeah, it must be trash day. Must be trash day in Lagos. Yeah, right? That's funny. Yeah. Hi. We'll be exploring this beautiful coastline, and one day you can choose a really great excursion. I would suggest you do is a boat ride, just to going along the coast, see the beautiful view of the coastline from the water. Um, we'll be touring around and see some of these more beautiful lookout points. You can take some gorgeous pictures of the rocks and the coastline out to your south. There's a lot of wonderful agriculture that comes from this part of Portugal and Europe as well. So we'll get to visit some of these beautiful farms and meet some of the people that grow wonderful produce. This is that coastline cruise I was telling you about that you can choose to do. We also, during our several days there, we'll set up a picnic lunch for everybody in some of these pristine settings of these hilltop farmlands and vineyards. Learn about the people that live there and have a great, really tasty lunch to go. It's a lot of fun. Continue on and visit some of these really beautiful towns. We visit some farmers markets. This is one of the most famous ones in Portugal to learn about some of the local produce. You can do some shopping. And these beautifully decorated ornate tiles are a real great delicacy in Portugal. And we'll go to a factory where they make them. You meet the people that make these tiles. You can do some shopping too to learn about them. It's a lot of fun. And then eventually we'll head back to Cascais, which is just outside of Lisbon, on the coastline. Beautiful seaside promenade, very beautiful buildings and squares. We'll spend 2 nights there, and we'll spend a day exploring the Silver Coast, which is an area just north of Lisbon. And stop at 2 of my favorite towns in Portugal. The first one is Sintra. This is another old Roman city. Beautiful walls, its own aqueduct, very charming streets to walk through and enjoy. They're famous for a red, wonderful little liqueur that they give you as you walk through the gates of the town. It's very, very welcoming and a lot of fun. And then we'll also visit Sintra, and Sintra was like the summer palace for the Portuguese royal family. So you can choose to actually spend time going and grabbing lunch or walking around on your own, or you can go to the top of the hill and we'll take you through the National Palace of Sintra, which is an old palace that they used to live in during the summer, and you see the beautiful views beneath you of the town. It's really great, but you can choose what you'd like to do there. And then we'll have a farewell dinner that last night in Cascais, get some more local food. The food in Portugal was fantastic. It's very impressive. Lots of great seafood, and they give you a lot of it, and lots of great meats and all kinds of different flavors. So I loved the food while I was there. We'll get one last taste of that at a farewell dinner, and then we'll fly you home the next day. So a really great tour. If you've never considered going to Portugal before, I would really highly suggest it. It's a great European destination. And one extension that we have on this trip that's available is going to Madeira, which is like the Garden Isle of the Atlantic. Beautiful cliffs, wonderful botanical gardens. They're famous, of course, for their Madeira wine, but they have lots of great little towns and things to visit. So that's a 5-day excursion where you're really going to get to know that island, and it's a lot of fun. All right. And the last trip I'm going to talk about is our tour in September of next year to discover Switzerland, Austria, and Bavaria. I love the Alpine region of Europe. It's so charming. If you love mountains, will love this part of the world. Just the most pristine snow-capped mountains, beautiful alpine villages. We'll take you through Switzerland and Austria, and we spend a day in southern Germany, which our guests absolutely love. So it's a 10-day experience, and it's well-paced again because we're spending 4 nights in Bern, which is the capital of Switzerland, and we'll take day trips to some really nice Swiss villages and cities, and then we'll spend 4 nights in Innsbruck, which is a beautiful town just along the foothills of the Alps in Austria, and again, we'll take day trips there, so you have a wonderful day excursion each day to visit a beautiful town or city. You'll have plenty of free time and plenty of time to enjoy each place that we get to see. This is going to be a 3 out of 4 again, so there is a little bit of walking, cobblestone streets, things you would need to be prepared for in order to enjoy your experience. But this is Bern, beautiful, just so clean, wonderful city. It has a wonderful history that we'll take you through. Here's the old town of Bern, and we'll have a great walking tour through there to tell you about all the different neighborhoods and how people live their life, in Switzerland. That welcome dinner that we always do on a trip, well, that might be cheese fondue or something local that's like a local delicacy in Switzerland that we want you to try and experience. So these local restaurants are fantastic. You don't need to worry about making a reservation or figuring out which one to go to. You just say, when do I show up? And they'll take you there and have a nice seat and take care of everything for you. Old architecture, beautiful churches, wonderful rivers that flow through here, and all out of the streets are just so fun to walk around and enjoy. We'll spend a day. This is a great example of something you can do. They have lots of funiculars and trains. The train schedule in Switzerland is fantastic. They are so on time all the time. It's so easy to get around. So we'll use that. Oh, yeah. Yeah. I know. Even if you're not going anywhere, yeah. So we'll use this train to get around a little bit while we're on this tour. And one really great ride is this funicular vehicle that we'll use to get up the slopes or one of the mountains around Bern, take you to the top. And it's a fun ride. You go up a very steep you have to have a special train to get up this steep face, and then you have beautiful views all around. You get to really see Switzerland. Then we'll take a day trip out to a really beautiful little town, get out into the countryside of Switzerland, contrast maybe the big city of Bern with some of the beautiful, small, quaint villages. And we take you to this shop and learn about the Alphorn, which is those wonderful horns that the yodelers use to communicate through the mountains. You actually get to meet a man who builds these, meet a yodeler themselves, learn about how it started, and if you want, you might learn you're a great yodeler yourself in the mountains. You can give it a try. It's a lot of fun. And then we'll have a great local restaurant lined up for you in that town. Some free time, we'll head back to Bern. So it's a really fun day. We'll also visit Lucerne, which is really like paradise on the lake in Switzerland. Beautiful architecture. Wonderful things to do. This is the Chapel Bridge in Lucerne, and you have to walk along there. They have beautiful paintings and displays all along the bridge to kind of walk around and show you and tell you about the history of Lucerne. Beautiful statues all throughout the town. So there's two kind of city landmark animals in Bern and Lucerne. Bern is the bear. They actually have a bear pit in Bern, which has been expanded, and it's got its own history. You'll have to learn about it from the local guide. In Lucerne, it's the lion. That's like the symbol of the town. And there's lots of great statues, all with lions throughout. This one's a monument for the Swiss guard who were killed during the French Revolution. So lots of depictions of the lion throughout the town, and you get to see beautiful statues. Very well decorated, all these cities. We'll head into Austria. So like I said, we'll have Switzerland for the first half of the trip. Then we'll get into Austria and stay in this beautiful town of Innsbruck with beautiful colored buildings and the mountains in the background. It's just a stunning environment and landscape. We'll have another choice of how you want to explore that town. And this is all about what your interest is. You can choose to do a historical or cultural tour or an architectural tour. There's no difference in the you don't have to pay anything extra. It's just how you want to spend your time based on what you want to learn about, what you want to focus on. And in both of those experiences, you will learn a great deal of the history of Innsbruck, get your bearings, maybe get some suggestions about places you want to head back to during free time to make the most of the experience. We'll head to Salzburg one day and have a great visit to Mirabel Gardens where they filmed The Sound of Music. So you get to really enjoy some of those sites. Very beautiful. Old Town Salzburg is one of my favorite places. There's great shopping and beautiful restaurants. Also, wonderful influence of classical music. You get to see where Mozart was born and learn all about these wonderful composers that come from Austria. We'll visit One of the oldest continually run restaurants in the world. It's St. Peter's Restaurant in Salzburg, and have a great meal there. They do great song and dance. It's wonderful food, but also very entertaining. They put on this folk show that you can enjoy and have some great entertainment with dinner, which is a lot of fun. And then one of our last days of the trip, we'll spend a day tour going into Bavaria in southern Germany. We'll visit wonderful palaces and castles all along this gorgeous day into like the Black Forest area of Germany, just to kind of give you an idea of the setting and the environment, these beautiful river valleys. This is an abbey that we'll visit. It was run by monks since the Middle Ages, and this is something I've learned, but pretty much every monastery or abbey in Europe will brew or make their own beer or wine. Because the people that live there, it was an important part of their way of life. This monastery, for example, the people that lived there wouldn't eat for a long time, but they would brew a kind of beer that would sustain them. So you can try it if you'd like. It's very good. And then we'll have a great farewell dinner back in Innsbruck that night before we fly you home the next morning. So our wonderful trip. Yeah. Oh, cool. Oh, good. Oh, nice. We'll go to Munich. Oh, wonderful. Cool. So that'll be a little bit of a different version. It'll be listed in your brochure, but it's a little bit different than what I showed. Yeah. And then there's also an extension on this one. You can go to Vienna. If you've never been there, it's a beautiful capital city of Austria. We'll have 3 nights. One of the downtown part of Vienna was one of the most beautiful cities in Europe I can imagine. So architecturally designed and detailed, beautiful palaces, museums, government buildings, the theater. It's just gorgeous. You could walk around all day in Vienna and just love what you're seeing. So we'll have 3 nights that you get to see and learn about that. Any questions about those tours? And that's just a taste of what we do. But again, this is all about meeting people in the community. These are some great trips that Laura has set up, that there's going to be friendly people on it with you that you get to meet, spend time with, and connect with. And not only that, but see these great places all over the world. So it's a really fun experience. Yeah.
Price of the trip that's on each of the brochures. That includes your airfare. It also includes the hometown pickup, which James mentioned, and it includes the transfers to and from the airports to the hotels, the meals that are listed, and all the activities and all the cultural experiences and all that. So when you go over the brochure, just wanted you to know that. I have left my card with each of you, the brown card. If you are interested in receiving our email, which will tell you when we have the presentations for each trip, let me know. Or if you're just interested in getting our newsletter, Your Travel Memories, just email me. It's on there, and you can let me know, and I'd be happy to help you. And we have trips. We actually do have a Christmas in London trip at the end of this year that we didn't include. If you're interested, let me know before you leave. I have a brochure. Because it was 2025, we just had enough for 2026, and we do have a couple spots left on that if you're interested. So I'm going to give you, I guess, to you, right?
How many days is the Christmas in
It's
London?
a week.
It's a week.
It's a week.
Okay.
Uh-huh. Yeah, I have the brochure right
And
here.
it's just in London, or do you go anywhere else?
It's just in London.
Okay.
You do a really in-depth spotlight on London at Christmas. It's actually the beginning of December. It's not over Christmas, but it's
Okay.
at Christmas time. So,
Okay. And do we have any questions? I've got the microphone. I want to bring it to you if you have questions.
Yeah. Thanks, Nancy. Oh, good.
So that's my first one.
Good.
But you all have amazing helps, and I mean all those things that you do.
Get in touch in the
I
future.
lost my luggage so bad in Europe, I never thought I'd see it again.
Oh, no. Sorry.
I did a plan with the thing, I got to Chicago, they said, we have no plan, we have no report,
But you got it eventually.
all over again. It was about 2 weeks, they finally put it in my basement
Yep.
apartment, I'm like,
Thank
so
you
that right there is a biggie.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Okay. Any questions for anybody? You guys are quiet today. Usually you have a lot of questions. Who's going to go on a trip?
Yeah. It's a lot of fun. Get signed up for Laura's newsletter because she does lots of different trips, lots of fun experiences. Like I said, it's all about getting connected with people.
And there's never any pressure. It's very low key. I don't ever pressure you. I just send you the newsletter. You can look over it. If you're interested, then you can get back in touch.
So, yeah, do you have a question?
Do you have other trips than just these 3?
Well, actually, I do have one France barge cruise in July, but I did not include that today because that's another travel partner.
Gotcha.
So, but I have that on my website, and my website is actually on that card, so I would really recommend looking at that also because it lists all these trips and the date and then all the information on there. Plus
Did you say French barge trip?
Yes.
I did understand that.
Yes,
Okay.
it goes from Paris to the Champagne area of France and back. And it's not a river cruise, it's actually a barge that's been renovated. So it only holds 22 of us. So it's a very
Wow.
small.
Oh, that's
Very cool.
Yeah. So you can see that on my website, and if you're interested in any of my trips, just let me know. And if you maybe just want to get the newsletter, it's not that often, periodically. It'll tell you about anything we've got coming up or trip presentations or anything like that.
Other questions? Why don't, Laura Kay, do you mind just sharing some of the senior travel tips? We kind of talked a little bit about, not traveling alone and the benefit of traveling in groups, some of those kinds of things.
It's really nice to have a group travel company that you're working with because if you're traveling by yourself, If you're traveling by yourself, you have to do all the work. You have to find the hotels, and you have to find out what the places to go, and you have to find out the good restaurants. And when you work with a group travel company like this, everything's done for you. I have a lot of people that travel with me that are single. And in fact, a lot of them are. And that's great because they feel much more confident because they're going to be with a group, they're going to have everything planned, and they're going to be with other single people. Although we do have couples too, or friends, but they feel much more comfortable traveling as a single person, having a whole group planned and getting to know those people prior to the trip and then on the trip. And you probably will never be the only single person because we have quite a few. So you feel that confidence. You don't feel like you're the third man out.
And you mentioned there's a group that they went on an Italian trip some time back.
Yes, I have. What happens is that these travelers get very close on these trips because you're spending all this time with these small group. Then when they get back, they have a reunion every year, and they either go to an Italian restaurant or someone cooks Italian food, and they all get together for a reunion to kind of keep that connection going. And we've had that happen for a couple of the trips. The people on the trips get very close. And they all live in this area normally, although you can bring a friend or a family member from out of state, and Collette will take care of their trip and plan their airfare to meet up with the group. So we're just not Raleigh. But if you do have a guest that you want to bring from somewhere else, anywhere, we'll plan that airfare for you, or Collette will.
Nice. Okay, so it's going to be an add-on if someone came from Washington State, for instance,
Right.
and their price would be
It
the
depends.
ticket to
It really
potentially.
Actually, it really
okay.
just depends.
Totally makes sense.
Sometimes it's been the same as it was from somebody going from Raleigh, because sometimes if we don't get a nonstop from Raleigh, let's say to wherever we're going in Europe, we have to go through Atlanta or New York or wherever. They will meet up on that same destination.
I've
so
done
it's
that,
not always
yeah.
more expensive. It just depends where they're coming from and what the rates are at that time.
It's kind of fun. I've met
Yeah.
my mom before in
Yeah.
in another
We have
airport
a
and then
trip-
gone.
Well, the Christmas trip, we've got a sister coming from Wisconsin. We've got 2 people coming from the beach. So it's not always just Raleigh, but the majority would be the Raleigh-Durham area, the Triangle area.
Totally makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then you make local friends.
Right, absolutely, that you can do things with when the trip gets back.
Yeah, it's not, and you mentioned earlier, it's not like a cruise ship where there's 3,000
No.
people, and really the only people you really make friends with are the ones that you are assigned to the same dinner
Right.
table at night at the same schedule.
Right.
And most everybody else is a stranger.
And even though the trip itself might have 35, 40, our little group doesn't go over 20. And sometimes it can be
Okay.
15. I mean, it doesn't, I like to keep it small.
Yeah. Any other thoughts? There we go. Hang on just a second. Let me run.
Wondering about how many people are on the buses that you travel around with?
Yeah, great question. It depends on the trip.
Okay.
All of these trips will have a max of 40, 44 people on them. There are smaller group trips that we do as well with a max of 24. And Laura can talk to you about some of those and different itineraries and which ones she has set up that are different sizes. So it just depends on the specific departure and tour that we're doing.
The Christmas in London trip at this point, normally they're pretty busy, but I think it has maybe 28 on the whole trip right now. So that's really nice. I mean, there may be more people that add on. The seat reduction, there's always a deposit due date. And once that deposit due date passes, then it's first come, first serve. But I reserve so many seats for my group up until that date. So you never know. I mean, it could be 44, it could be 30. You just never know. With each trip, it changes. So that's kind of. But my group, I keep very small.
Other thoughts, questions?
That it?
Yeah.
Well, listen, my card is in front of you. Please take it with you. Look over the website. There's a lot of information on there. And if you have any questions or you're interested or you want to receive the newsletter, feel free to reach out, and I'll put you on the mailing list. I thank you all for coming today, and I hope you enjoyed it.
Let me show you a last couple of slides here before everybody just runs out the door. Because, so with the change for the city taking over, so let me see if we can get it. I just want to show you the schedule for the rest of the year for the seminars, because I don't have the cards printed yet. Okay, I'm not talking on them. Let it come up. So because the city's taking over July 1, I have everything scheduled. I haven't gone to print because I haven't been given the real green light to go to print with the cards. So I'm going to give you the dates. I don't think they're going to change, but it's a big expense to print those, and it's really a pain in the neck if they get out there with the wrong dates. And you all have a flyer there for Downsizers Club. If you haven't already joined or you want to participate in that, there's all kinds of tips on for those who are thinking about downsizing or at some point making a move, and you have a lot of stuff. Then this is a good group for you to attend. So all the details are there. That also is scheduled for the back end of the year. The next date is the last one on there for the first half of the year, and that's next week on Wednesday. So we'll be back in this room next Wednesday. Replays of all of the seminars are on my website, Southern Accent Homes. So you can go there and watch. And usually, once we finish a seminar, it's usually 3 or 4 days before we upload. Jacob crops it and then sends me the link, and we upload that. And here's the dates for the back half of the year. So in July, the next one is commonly overlooked legal documents, tips from an attorney. So Annette Rhodes from here in Wake Forest will be here speaking. August is caregiving is a vital stage of life. So we'll have a lady who has a master's in social work. She'll be talking about that. September, we'll have a panel of seniors who've already moved into senior living communities, and they're going to give you all the ins and outs of how they toured, how they selected, what they think about living there, and downsizing from their freestanding home. October, we'll have a Medicare insurance salesperson, and she's going to talk about all the changes with Medicare, so that's Medicare 101. Financial strategies in uncertain times will be an Edward Jones financial advisor, and retirement living options for proactive people. We'll talk about senior living in December. So these are all back here at the Senior Center, 10 a.m. These are all Wednesdays, and we'll be in this room unless something changes. If you don't currently receive my mailing list and you would like to be on that, please fill out the survey that you have in front of you, and I'll ensure that you're on the mailing list for the newsletters. If you would like to receive email updates or reminders about the seminars or the Downsizers Club, that's all we send out, just twice a month. We'll send out reminders. So if you would please fill this out and hand it in to me at the end. One of the things I do is I take the feedback from here, and that's how I develop the curriculum for the upcoming seminars. So your feedback matters, and I try to make sure that I have the very best. Didn't they do a great job? Thank you, Laura Kay and Jane, for coming today. We really appreciate it. Yeah, there's a big round of applause. We appreciate you coming out and providing all the information, and I hope to see you all in Europe somewhere. I'm like, juices are flowing. Thank you all for coming today. Have a great drive home.
I'll put the